Look at ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs carved into a temple wall. Today, scholars can read them almost as easily as this sentence. We know the names of their kings, their prayers, even their jokes. We can even follow a shopping list written 4,000 years ago. But here's the strange part that most people never learn. For nearly 1,500 years, no one could read a single word. This writing covered a whole civilization, and it went completely silent. An entire language written for millennia simply fell mute. The knowledge of how to read it simply vanished from the earth. Anyone who looked at these symbols saw only beautiful, meaningless pictures. So how did we ever get that lost voice back? It is one of the greatest detective stories in all of history. For over 3,000 years, Egypt wrote in hieroglyphs. The script covered temples, tombs, statues, and endless scrolls. It was one of the longest used writing systems in all of history. It recorded an entire world of gods, kings, and daily life. But slowly, Egypt changed and older ways began to fade. New rulers came and new religions spread across the land. The Greeks, then the Romans, reshaped how Egypt lived and wrote. The old temples where the script was taught were finally closed. The last hieroglyphs were carved around 1,600 years ago. One final inscription, and then a silence that would last for ages. After that, the very last people who could read them died. And with them, the key to an entire civilization was lost. The symbols remained everywhere, but now no one understood them. For centuries, brilliant people tried to crack the code. Travelers copied the strange symbols and puzzled over them. Emperors, priests, and scholars alike were baffled by the signs. But they all made the same simple, fatal mistake. They assumed each little picture stood for a whole idea. It felt obvious. A picture of a bird surely just meant a bird. A bird might mean the soul, a snake might mean danger. They treated the script as a kind of mystical picture puzzle. Scholars wrote entire books of confident, imaginative translations. Some even claimed the glyphs held secret magic and hidden wisdom. And almost every single one of them was completely wrong. This one wrong idea blocked all progress for hundreds of years. The real secret was hiding in plain sight, waiting for the right key. Then in 1799, everything changed. French soldiers were digging near a town called Rosetta in Egypt. They were building a fort during Napoleon's campaign in the region. One of them uncovered a large, dark, broken slab of stone. Carved into its surface were 3 different bands of writing. The soldiers had no idea they held a key to a lost world. At the top were the mysterious Egyptian hieroglyphs. In the middle was another unknown Egyptian script. But at the bottom was something everyone could still read. It was ancient Greek, a language scholars knew perfectly well. And that was the spark of hope. It was the same message, 3 times. The very same royal decree carved 3 separate ways. If the Greek matched the hieroglyphs, it could become a key. The idea was simple and thrilling. Read the Greek, and you would know what the hieroglyphs said. Surely people thought this would take only a few weeks. In reality, it would take more than 20 years. The greatest minds in Europe would break themselves upon it. The stone was cracked and broken with pieces missing. And the old wrong assumptions still trapped everyone's thinking. Copies of the stone were sent to scholars across Europe. Everyone wanted to be the first to make the word speak. A quiet, fierce race to decode it had begun. And 2 very different men would lead that race. One in Britain and one in France. In Britain, a brilliant scientist named Thomas Young took up the challenge. Young was a genius who studied light, medicine, and languages. He was the kind of mind that solved hard problems for fun. He focused on small ovals in the text called cartouches. People had guessed these ovals framed the names of kings. Young matched one oval to the Greek name Ptolemy, and he made a crucial leap that others had missed. He realized the symbols inside might stand for sounds, not ideas. Foreign names he saw had to be spelled out by sound. For the first time, someone was reading hieroglyphs as letters. It was a real breakthrough, but Young went only so far. He still believed most of the script was symbolic, and he stalled. Meanwhile, in France, another mind was burning with the same puzzle. His name was Jean-François Champollion. He had been obsessed with ancient Egypt since he was a child. He devoured every scrap of Egyptian writing he could find. As a teenager, he vowed that he would be the one to read it. He taught himself a dozen ancient languages for this single goal. Hebrew, Arabic, Persian, and more all filled his young mind. Most importantly, he learned Coptic, the last echo of Old Egyptian. Coptic was a living descendant of the language of the pharaohs. This gave Champollion something no one else truly had. He could guess how a word should sound and then test it. He did not just want the symbols, he wanted the sounds behind them. He wanted to hear ancient Egyptian spoken again. In 1822, Champollion studied fresh copies of temple carvings. His eyes fell on a cartouche with 4 simple signs. The first was a circle, a picture of the sun. In his Coptic, the word for sun was Ra. The next signs he already knew stood for the sound S. He read the sounds together, Ra, then M, then SS. Rameses, the name of Egypt's greatest pharaoh. A name spelled out in sounds exactly as he had hoped. His heart must have pounded as he tried a second name. This one began with an ibis, the bird of the god Thoth. Thoth, then M, then S Thutmose, another real king. 2 names, 2 proofs. This was no lucky accident. In that instant, the whole system fell into place. Hieroglyphs were never only pictures of ideas. And they were never only a simple alphabet of sounds. They were both at once, mixed together in one script. Some signs spelled out sounds like letters in a word. Others were pictures that pointed straight to the meaning. Others stood for whole ideas or added silent meaning. That combination was exactly why everyone else had failed. They had been looking for one answer when the truth was 2. Champollion had found the hidden rule behind 3,000 years of writing. A rule so simple yet hidden for over 1,000 years. He was reading real Egyptian for the first time in 14 centuries. Champollion could barely contain the discovery inside him. He rushed out of his room and ran through the streets of Paris. He burst into his brother's office, breathless and shaking. He cried out that he had finally done it. And then, overwhelmed, he collapsed to the floor. He was so drained that he lay unwell for days afterward. But the impossible had happened. The code was broken. A silent civilization was about to start speaking again. Suddenly, the endless walls of symbols were no longer decoration. They were history waiting to be read. 3,000 years of Egyptian life poured out of the stone. Temples that had stood silent could finally be understood. Names of forgotten kings and queens returned to the world. Their prayers, their laws, and their letters could be understood. Ordinary people's lives, sealed for millennia, spoke once more. An entire civilization had been given back its own voice. The dead of Egypt could speak to the living once more. And it all rested on one obsessed young man and a broken stone. So the next time you see hieroglyphs, look closer. They are not magic symbols or mystical pictures. They are words, sounds, and sentences written by real people. People who laughed, worked, loved, and longed to be remembered. Silent for 1,400 years, and then suddenly heard again. All because someone refused to believe they could not be read. Follow to see history the way it actually looked.